You're welcome back to the Arise interview with me, Christian Ogodo. We're live in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, and thanks for staying with us. These may not be the best of times, so the president of the African Development Bank, AfDB, Akinwumi Adesina, who is in the process of canvassing for votes for a second term. A group of anonymous staff had accused Adesina of multiple cases of abuse and breaches of the bank's code of ethics. The Bank Ethics Committee, after the investigation, cleared Adesina of any wrongdoing. Now, U.S. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin is calling for an independent probe into the allegations against the AfDB president. But many African leaders are rallying around Adesina, vying to rise to defend African Development Bank, saying the bank under his leadership has continued to maintain its AAA rating for the past 5 years. So, what's the U.S. interest in calling for an independent probe? Should the bank's ethics committee stand firm or take a new stance? We'll discuss these issues in a moment, but first, here are some of the achievements of the AfDB under the leadership of Akinwumi Adesina.
You know, I've always been saying it, that Africa's biggest asset is in agriculture. 65% of all the arable land to feed the 9 billion people in the world is not in Asia, it's not in Latin America, it's not in Europe, it's in Africa. What Africa does with agriculture will determine the future of food in the world. So you're beginning to see that in this Africa Investment Forum. A lot of investments that are going to food and agribusiness, into logistics, into processing and value addition, into creating the infrastructure density in rural areas that will allow us to have food and ag businesses locate there and therefore be able to set up value chains that will process our cocoa, that will process our rice, that will do every single thing that we have. So that's really the exciting part. And that's why the African Development Bank, we are investing $25 billion over the next 10 years because we can see that future, because the size of the food and ag industry in Africa will be worth a whopping $1 trillion market by 2030. So Africa should not just be the market for others, it shouldn't be the market for others. It should take on that market and feed its rapidly growing populations and rapidly urbanized cities.
All right, for more analysis, I've now been joined by Basil Enwegbara, who is a development economist. Basil, nice seeing you again. It's been a long while.
Nice to meet you once again.
The COVID-19 has really locked you folks down. But let's go straight to business. Politics at the international level, the United States isn't happy with the kind of achievements the AfDB is making, particularly making African countries look inwards to their agricultural potentials and saying that in 10 years, Africa should be the cynosure of all eyes when it comes to agricultural development and production. Is that correct?
I think it's bigger than what you have said now. The politics is bigger than what you have said. Let me make it clear to people to understand the politics. Adesina is just like somebody mistakenly find himself where armed robbers are fighting. He wasn't supposed to be there. What I mean by that is this. There's a war between the present administration and the Rockefeller family. You know, this is the first American president that has never, ever rose from political
landscape, to the zenith.
So he emerged from somewhere. Actually, the Rockefeller since 1932, when they sponsored Roosevelt, Franklin Roosevelt, that had been determining who would be American president. Trump is a man of his own word, and Trump believes he has to dismantle the Rockefeller system. Whether you believe it or not, the Rockefellers own most of these multinational, multilateral
agencies.
Yes. So one of the things Trump is looking at is African Development Bank, that he must uproot the influence of Rockefeller there. That is one thing. Unfortunately for Mr. Dr. Adesina was once a Rockefeller, where he was he rose from the Rockefeller Foundation and things like that. So it's a complicated issue. But now let's get to African issue. I think that Adesina is a great man. He loves Africa, but he made some mistakes. There are things when you get to that political post, will talk less and act more. 3, I was expecting Adesina at his level to have actually asking for his re-election, to have brought in people, the powerful people in Africa, people like the Obasanjos, the Tambo Mbekis, and let them look after his back. Because the office of the President of African Development Bank is very political, very hot seat. So they have taken advantage of that because it's easy to sponsor whistleblowers. That's what I'm saying. Now, having said that, America should not and must withdraw, because if not, we see imperialism into this. It must allow Africans, though it's a major stakeholder, but
the second major shareholder after Nigeria.
After Nigeria. So, but it must step aside. It must withdraw unnecessary influence. Because if it does it, then Africans will say, you know what? You are fighting this guy because he's a good African, he's an African, because that's what we're playing out now. And I will try to tell Trump, a man that actually America first and the rest, he must allow Africans to think Africa first.
And yeah, thinking Africa first, to see some of the giant strides that Dr. Akinwumi Adesina is brought to the AfDB in, energizing economic activities in the continent. Like I said earlier, 25 billion is going to be invested in economic regeneration and rejuvenation in the agricultural sector, which still holds the largest or the greatest potential to African development. And of course, he's not just looking at the agricultural fields and the products therein, but he's looking at infrastructural development that is going to make Africa a one united Africa. What are your thoughts?
That's why I said that he wouldn't have done this alone. He would have carried along.
Yeah, but the Nigerian government, Obasanjo, the former president of Nigeria, has written 16 other African head of state to stand firm.
And they will stand. And I will assure you he will skate through this. The only thing I don't know whether he's going to get his second term. But I would like him to get second term in order to consolidate what he has. Because my fear is that when America influences in you, by the way, it's not only America that is against him. I forgot to let you know. ECO, which France wanted to sponsor, Adesina was like neutral, diplomatically neutral. And France didn't find it funny because France thought, here is African Development Bank that we, French government, has sponsored and made sure it is in a Francophone country. And you are sitting there and you do not fight for us. So Adesina has so many enemies. But the good thing is that Adesina has a good record that Africans will. Look, by the way, Adesina is one of the most successful African professionals, whether you like it or not. I can have my differences with him, but this is the man who has really paid his dues. And they should not rubbish a man at that level by using all this backdoor whistleblower. So, in essence, Adesina needs Africa, and Africa needs Adesina. And I will assure you, he will emerge more powerful and more determined to fight for Africa.
And in fighting for Africa, some African governments too are rallying behind him. And Nigeria issued a very strong statement. Because when you look at the about 14, 15 or so charges leveled against him, they're so frivolous, watery, they cannot stand, on any legal platform. What, apart from dismantling the Rockefeller influence in AfDB and in most of, what is America's interest here again?
Yes, when you ask the question, you answer the question. America is interested in, look. In 1976, Henry Kissinger said, he who controls oil controls governments. He who controls food controls the people. Go and Google it. He said, we must, in 21st century, control food so that we control the people around the world. Because control is control governments. But you see, at that level, he didn't know the world would be what it is today. He didn't know that China will emerge. He didn't know India will emerge. He didn't know Africa will re-emerge or become more sophisticated. So food is very critical because everybody must eat food. So this man is actually going to the territory that is frightening them. Look at cocoa. Look at cocoa. Do you know that only Switzerland will fight him? These people will not come directly to fight. It's only because America is the more powerful. They use America as the big masquerade, and they stay behind it and be pushing. First, Francophone countries France want a Francophone president. And that's what France is pushing. Because he believed that if it was a Francophone president, he would have helped France to get
the
echo something. But he didn't know that Africa is too sophisticated, especially Nigeria. Nigeria is too big for a small country like France. Whether you like it or not, in the next 50 years, Nigeria will be dominant in the world more than France. Forget about what we're going through. So why does France think that they can come and slap Nigeria and say, join this? So it is a slap on Nigeria by slapping Adesina, because it's a slap. And they're doing it, and the Francophone Africans are just watching because they wait so that it will not happen. This is a great opportunity for Nigeria to stand this way. Nigeria is the second contributor to African Development Bank. Nigeria will
the largest. The largest.
First. Yes, sorry, the largest. Yeah. You know, we say either Adesina or no other person. And thank God that South Africa, I'm talking to South African diplomats, and they're telling me that they are standing in support of Adesina more than Nigeria, because remember that African Investment Forum, which actually put together for Nigeria to rotate it between Nigeria and South Africa since 2014. Adesina took it to South Africa as a way of compensating South Africa. I said, okay, be it, although we're in court, but you see, I don't want to bring this issue here. I'm in court with him, I'm in court with Africa, but that will not be the reason why I will not say that he's a good man. So
he's been a good man, because when you look at the agricultural value chain, Africa is just a dumping ground, producing more than 70% of cocoa that is used for chocolate in the whole of Europe and America.
And it's shocking. Yeah. My brother, it's so shocking now. But something is happening in the world that I want us to take advantage of. It's, you know, sometimes God will change things without our knowing it. And in 1945, nobody knew that Africa would have gotten independence, because Hitler drive the Second World War, and that Second World War brought America to become the superpower. And America said, I can't share power with Europe. Europe, we must give independence to all African countries. Okay,
I think let me put you on hold there. When we return after taking some messages, you continue on that line of thought.
Thank you.
You're still watching the Arise interview. We've got more to interrogate when we return after the break. Stay with us. You're welcome back to the Arise interview with me, Christian Ogodo. We're live in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Thanks for staying with us. I still have the development economist, Basil Enwegbara, with us here. Basil, you were, going on the line of thought of Africa not getting, or being on the value chain of its agricultural produces.
Exactly.
Yeah, go on.
So what I'm trying to say, I want to say something before, that will lead us to that place. So what I'm saying in essence is that something happened in the world that people have not noticed it. COVID-19 has changed the way the world will look like in the next 50 years. First and foremost, globalization has been torn into pieces. Because, World Trade Organization was actually that was imposing foreign cheap agricultural products
on Africa.
And Africa you must open your door because you must compete. But in the meantime, America was actually providing a lot of free money to American farmers. The same thing in Europe and things like that, in food processing and things like that, and adopting all this cheap and the substandard food to Africa. Now it can no longer happen. Why? Because with COVID-19, countries can now say, what you are bringing is a part of COVID-19 disease. Two is that I will give it to CBN. This governor of CBN has been the best governor when it comes to import substitution industrialization. Because he had discovered that the banks, commercial banks, will never give loan at a low interest rate, not to mention to small businesses. And small businesses are the drivers of economy all over the world. So now they have moved to agriculture, and you see now so many people are into the value chain, agricultural value chain. And that is what we need, because an economy cannot industrialize without being able to feed itself. Because in the process of producing enough food that you also get raw materials for industries and things like that. So Adesina is actually, but let me put it in this way. I support Adesina, but also, Adesina is a pro-GMO. A pro-GMO. genetically modified organism foods. And that was why when he was in Nigeria, I was fighting him because I said, you cannot bring GMO into Nigeria, into Africa, because the owner for GMO are external. As soon as you bring GMO, which will alter our soil texture, will be dependent on the type of fertilizer, on the type of seeds and things like that. But I think he subpedaled. Especially he subpedaled when I started accusing him of that. He subpedaled, and eventually he went to the African world. He discovered that it's bigger. More important, is bigger, and he cannot talk about GMO. So that is that. So his agriculture policy is talking about until he retracted himself was actually GMO-driven American. Yes, but when he discovered that Nigerians are as smart as he is, he withdrew that. But be it as it may, he is somebody who must support because he means well for the continent. He means well, and he has the crowd. He has seen it all. So we will not bring one politician or one timid person to replace him.
Political adventurist.
Or somebody very timid to come and replace him. And when America calls, the man will sneeze. When America sneezes, the person catches cold. No, we need him. It is good that America did him this so that he will not tell America, I don't need you. Yes, if you want to pull out, he pull out. But I don't think America will like to pull out from African development, because if it does that, that is the end of American
African relationship.
I'm telling you the truth.
As American-African relationship in the last 12 or so years is not, there's not been so much to write home about yes.
Because,
well, in diplomacy, no permanent
friends or permanent
enemies
yes.
and the rest. How can Africa rediscover itself, particularly with the domineering effects now being marshaled by the Chinese?
China is transition. China will phase out. Unfortunately, China, I used to consult for Chinese government until I discovered that they are too narrow-minded, they have not studied the world to understand the world has changed during the past 30 to 40 years. Especially.
But that's a change that brought them to prominence.
Exactly. But they did not actually look at the new world. They look at the world, the old system the Europe used on Africa, the old system America. So he wanted to, apply it in Africa. China effect has come to an end because of COVID-19. It's an issue that if you invite me, we'll talk about it for days. Because China made a very silly mistake, allowing America to take advantage of this COVID-19 taking place in China. China would have, first and foremost, appealed to the world. Appeal to the world, this is a mistake, we must support whatever. But China took it as if it's none of their business. When you find yourself in this situation, fight yourself. Now, countries like Nigeria will sue China for 200 billion. China may not pay, but that's a damage China will live with. America will sue China. So what I'm saying in essence is that China has lost it in Africa. And also China is short-minded in Africa, going to illegal mining and all those things. And the Africans have said, you know what? Because of the way you even treat Africans, we will now go to look at your records in Africa. And we have seen that you are not a good partner. So Africa is actually moving to its full independence. Because at the end of the day, whether you believe it or not, with COVID-19, most African countries will look inward, especially Nigeria. Nigeria is a major player. South Africa and the 3 or 4 other African countries will come together to exchange goods and services. And as soon as we're doing that, the problem of Africa is we don't have Afro. If we're able to have Afro, we don't need the dollar. If I want to import something from China, from South Africa, I import using Afro, South Africa. But the problem is that Europe and America and the Asians will not allow us to have that. Because as soon as we have it, we have what is called financial and currency independence. That they will not do. But they're dragging us to that. So let's get back to issue of what America has lost all these years. America did not believe Africa was rising. America thought it was a joke. But America didn't know that China was exploiting African raw materials and actually paying the real value for the raw materials. America didn't know that China was actually exploiting African raw materials, but paying the real value for the raw materials. Because the usual way is that you give them a peanut and take this. But China knew that the only way to get those from Africans and make sure Europeans and Americans didn't have it is to pay the real market value. So that is how America lost it. By the time America knew what went wrong, that it was left behind, Obama came in with African investment in this, but they were not serious because actually America is still believing that we are giant. But one day they wake up and discover they are no giant anywhere, because as soon as the dollar is removed, and that's what China is fighting. Let me tell you, if China is successful in making sure hydrocarbon economy is gone, making sure hydrocarbon, which actually the dollar is what actually drives, is the oil that drives the dollar. drive the dollar. If oil is no longer a major commodity in the world, it has been replaced by green energy, it means that the rest of the world will say, you know what, we don't need their dollar. And China is already doing it with Russia and Japan and things like that. And if America loses the dollar as the global de facto currency, that's the end of America. Because America has been printing this dollar, and what America actually does is to print dollar and give it to the world. And the world bring goods, work for the goods, and bring it to America. That is about competitiveness.
Well, how can, again, Africa get out of the cul-de-sac or the jaws of these advanced countries, so-called advanced countries, in 30 seconds?
It's a good question you ask, but I think we'll come back and discuss. Let me tell you, the problem of Africa is that the leaders of Africa are not those who are supposed to lead Africa. They are friends of Europe and America. These are people that have trained to come and represent their interest. And of course, if you don't do it, the next person will do it. That's the problem with Africa. Africa cannot. If I want to come and be president of Africa and I'm not their friend, they'll kick me out. But by the time I become their friend, they say, okay, we sponsored you, we invested a lot in you.
We saw that against Thomas Sankara. We saw that against Mulumba. We saw that against the former president of Mozambique. Yes.
Because he was against the Rockefellers who wanted to mine the copper. And they said, no, the copper belongs to us, and they killed him.
Yeah. All right, thanks so very much, Basil Enwegbara. Development Economist. Is always very delightful having you on Arise News.
Thank you for having me.
Well, that's it for this edition of the Rise interview. Do join us again tomorrow from me and the entire team here in Abuja. Goodbye, and thanks for watching.